RPG, and boom, and I'm falling.
He tried to punch me again. I slipped under his arm, got behind him. I picked him up, slammed him,
Yeah.
knocked him out.
We found this big cache full of AKs, RPGs, stuff like that.
So I start slamming shots. I think about maybe 2 minutes after that, I blacked out. I have no idea what happened.
Panda 1-6, Panda 1-6, this is Badger 2-2, come in, over.
Badger 2-2, this is Panda 1-6, send traffic, over.
Roger, E4 Mafia is a go. I say again, E4 Mafia is a go.
Roger that, execute.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the E4 Mafia podcast. Today's episode is going to be about our second deployment. We're going to go through some of the stories, some of the struggles that we went through during this deployment. And the biggest thing is, we're part of the E4 Mafia now. Guys, don't forget about our giveaway. Our last video of the series, the mental health and transitioning out episode. We need 100 likes, 100 comments with the hashtag E4 Mafia. You got to be subscribed as well. And within the comments, we're going to pick someone to win a free shirt. Once the shirts come in, they're being made as we speak. Once they come in, we're going to show you guys what they look like. You have two different options, black or green. Whenever we select who the winner is, we'll contact you to get your mailing information, and we'll ship you a free shirt. Also, be on the lookout for our TikTok giveaway for our challenge coins. We're going to get more info on that later on throughout the series and more episodes. Stay tuned. Make sure you're following us on TikTok, and make sure that you're following us on Twitter. Again, guys, my name's Alan.
My name's Mike.
And let's get into the episode. Deployment 2, man. Second deployment.
Yeah.
Everything else has been filled in. The only a couple episodes left is this one and the transition out.
Yeah.
So for this series, I'm excited to end the series. I'm excited, kind of bittersweet that it's about to end. But I think it was a good series so far. So
Yeah.
But I'll let you go first this time. Last time I went first. So
Okay. So the second deployment, it's 2008. We went to Iraq. So by now, got boots, this whole workup. We had boot drops and stuff like that. We've been training with them for about 7-8 months or so. So they told us where we're going. We're going in Iraq. All right. I don't really remember. I remember the flights, for the most part. So I might be getting some of my stories mixed up from first and second deployment because there's not much that. It's only bits and pieces that I remember. So some of y'all to comment, correct me if I'm wrong, whatever. Not a big deal, but the biggest thing I remember, the beginning of it, was the flights. We left.
So first, where are you going?
At this point, we don't know. We just know we're going in Iraq.
Gotcha. So it's not a MEU. You're getting told. You got told that you're going into Iraq.
Iraq.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this deployment's not a MEU. You're not getting sent off the MEU. You're directly dropping into Iraq.
To Iraq.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. So just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Straight to Iraq. We don't know what part of Iraq yet.
Gotcha. Yep.
So the flight was kind of heartfelt for me. We leave again. I don't remember if we're leaving from North Carolina or West Virginia to Texas. So we got on the airline. We had a stop in Texas. When we stopped in Texas, we had a lot of old vets there. I guess they get info on when we get deployed or whoever gets deployed. And they're all standing there, handing out Bibles and other stuff, little goodie bags, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And they're standing in line, shaking your hand. So you got all these old vets from like World War I, World War II, stuff like that, shaking your hand, thanking you for your service, blah, 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 So we leave, we get to Texas, and then that was our stop, and we went from Texas to Germany, and then Kuwait, I think it was.
Okay.
Or either from Texas straight to Kuwait. So I don't really remember.
You landed in Kuwait though.
Yeah. So we landed in Kuwait, and then they told us where we were going. So we were going to, I don't know if, should I say the city in Iraq?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay. So we went to Qadisiyah.
Okay.
It was a small city, probably like north. Well, it was north of the Euphrates River, so it wasn't that far from the Euphrates River. Baghdad was probably about an hour, maybe a little more than an hour, and then some other major cities weren't that far either. So when we got to Kuwait, they told us we're going to Qadisiyah, and we had the battalion fob. The battalion fob was right next to an old Iraqi fob.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then later I found out they were going to decommission their fob. But anyways, the battalion fob was there, and it was probably about, I'd say, 30 miles away from our other fobs. So in which I didn't know this at first when I got there. You had the battalion fob, and then all the company's fobs were pushed out. And there was only like 3 company fobs out there, and the other ones stayed on the battalion. And
Gotcha.
we normally rotated about a month out of the 8 months that we were there.
Okay.
So you had a company fob, and then our company was in Qadisiyah, so almost directly in the middle of the city, almost. And then we had our own platoon fobs.
Okay.
And then they got, our own platoon fobs. So anyways, we went to the battalion fob. They told us, all right, Fox Company, you're going out here in this part of the city. The other company was going to a different part of the city, and another company went to another part of the city.
Right.
Not the same city. It was 3 different cities in that area. So we got there. I think it was like maybe 1 o'clock in the morning by then. We got in our 7 tons, and we're just chilling. You know, it was a good bit of a ride, about 30 miles, I think it was, to our location that we needed to be in. So we're in the back of the 7 tons, just, chilling. We got our helmet off.
How big is this city if it's that long of a ride?
No, it was 30 miles from the battalion fob.
So so your platoon fobs were outside the city.
In the city.
Okay. So different cities?
Our platoon fob was, so Fox Company's fob was in the main city of Qadisiyah.
Right.
Then our platoon fobs were pushed out within the city.
That's what I'm saying. So this city was pretty big then.
Right. It was 30 miles from the battalion fob to our company fob.
Okay.
Our rod was on from our platoon fob. I mean, from our company fob to our platoon fob wasn't that far.
Okay.
It was an old Iraqi police station that was blown up to shit, and we just built it up, fortified it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're driving from the platoon fob, company fob to our fob, and then again we're just chilling in the back of the 7 ton. We got our Kevlars off, and we're back there just waiting to see where we're going, because we really don't know where we're going yet. We know we're in this city. We don't know. They just say, hey, you're going to your fob.
Right.
Okay. So we're going. And then our platoon sergeant that was out there with us at the time, he came out there, and when when we stopped at our location, they, instead of going in, I think because it was so small, only Humvees can go in there.
Mm-hmm.
The 7 tons couldn't go in there.
Okay.
So they dropped us off up front, which, again, we don't know where we're at, in the city yet.
Right.
So he gets out, and he's, all right, everybody get off the trucks. And we're just chilling. We're jumping off with our Kevlar hung to our Kevlar. He's like, what the fuck y'all doing? Put your damn Kevlars on. I was like, oh. He's like, where do you think we're at? We're like, oh, Roger, that's hard. So we get in, and we make ourselves, we get in our little makeshift bunks or whatever that's in the shipment container. That's where we were staying. And then, of course, we have our own internal, like, headquarters in this blown up police building. The platoon commander and platoon sergeant's in there.
Right.
And then we're all out here in these shipment containers that were built by the engineers, So yeah, we then it has we have our own post, so we have our own ECP. We only had the front entrance. We didn't have it wasn't that big to where you have both, and we didn't even have enough people anyways, for our platoon anyways. But we had the ECP one, and then we had 2 posts in the corners and 1 post in the back. So essentially, one squad would rotate,
Yeah.
to do that as a fire watch.
Yeah. Stand post.
Yeah, you stand in post. So we're doing just normal patrols at this point. We're there. Nothing's really popping. And we're doing normal patrols, just trying to get the feel for the city that we're at, getting to know the people. Kind of do like almost your own intelligence or recon, if you want to say,
Okay.
of how the people are, how they react, and when we're on one patrol, and majority of the men there are carrying AKs, which is it's not because in when you're doing the workups, you don't see that in those training. They tell you, but you don't see it.
Right.
And then you're in country, and then you actually see it, and you're like, okay. You kind of get a little excited almost. Your heart's beating a little bit. You're like,
Yeah.
all right, is he a good guy, bad guy? You don't know, right? But of course, you got the ROEs you got to deal with, so you have to ensure that you follow those ROEs while you're overseas. So yeah, right now we're doing just day patrols, trying to figure out the city, doing night patrols. I remember we did one for a night patrol. We had word that they were bringing in small arms like rockets, AKs, stuff like that. Maybe some smaller IEDs across the Euphrates River. And prior to that, we did a day patrol to see if we could find any, traffic or, footwork, moving across. We didn't really see much, but I did get stuck in the river on the bank when it was shallow. I have a picture of that. Somebody took a picture of me. But the night patrol later, we got to, it was probably about 6 miles, I would say, from our main fob. So we patrolled out there on foot. We found an abandoned building when we got there. And set up. So it was me. At this time, it was my squad. So I took the squad out. I'm still a fire team leader. But I took the squad out.
Okay.
My squad leader had to stay back at our fob. So I took the squad out, Doc, and then a small squad. It was like a 3-man team of the Iraqi police.
Mm-hmm.
So they went with us. We found them. We found the building. We set up. We probably got there. We probably left 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. We got out there and we set up and we're doing different things. And we found the warehouse. So I took myself and a small team went to the warehouse. And we found some old, where it looks like wet concrete almost.
Right.
Like, it looked like somebody just paved it almost in a little section
Okay.
of this warehouse. So we went through breaching in our previous workup. We went through breaching school, with sledgehammers, stuff like that, shotguns.
Yep.
So I had one of my boots, take the kit. So we went out there, we found it, and we started digging. And of course, we found this big cache full of AKs, RPGs, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We take that back, and they said, "All right, well, you're gonna sit there and keep watching." So this is probably by this time. After that, we came back to our little post that we created while we were out there. I think by this time it was probably about 10, 11 o'clock that night. So I'm setting people up. We've already set people up, but I'm rotating people around, stuff like that. So So I get up, and you know, again, this building is either it didn't look like it was blown up. I think they were making it.
Okay.
They were building it. So we went up the stairs. Or no, I went up the stairs. I took the team up there, and there's still rebar on the stairs, concrete stairs. Everything's concrete. So it goes up, and then it's like a little flat, balcony, a little thing, and then another set of stairs, another flat balcony, and then the door to the right to the roof is up that way. So I said, I'm not gonna say his name, but I said the machine gunner up there with his A gunner in the corner, and then I said 2 more guys at the bottom for the back door, and then the 2 or 3 of the Iraqi guys that were there with us to the front door, and Doc was in the middle with me. But anyways, set them up, and mind you, we got the green night vision goggles.
Yep, MVGs, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, pitch black. And I remember when I got up there to set them up, before I went out, I set my day pack down on that little ledge. And there's no railings, no hand railings or nothing. And as I was coming in, I remember I said, and I was trying to look down. And so I thought I was stepping to the right of it to miss it, which I did, but I missed the ledge completely. At that time, yeah. And as soon as I did that, I hear, a loud RPG, and boom, and I'm falling. But it happened so quick. I didn't think I was falling. I just thought I tripped.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, I hit the ground and blacked out. Only thing I remember is Doc waking me up. It was like a sternum rub, slap in the face, trying to wake me up.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yee, you all right? You all right?" And I'm out cold, like my breath is out. The air got knocked out of me. And when I came to, he was just laughing, like he was laughing his ass off. He's like, "You stupid motherfucker! You missed the ledge up there." And then the whole time, there's a small firefight going on.
Yeah.
And then I'm still knocked out. I'm like, what the fuck happened, dude?
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened. And he's like, dude, you barely missed the rebar. And I looked over, the rebar was like right here, right next to my thighs, on the bottom, on the last step. Then we came to, and then when we came to, and I finally got myself, out of it. And adrenaline's pumping, and I'm making sure I run back upstairs and make sure they're okay.
Didn't fall this time though.
No, I didn't fall this time. No. And then everything started quieting down.
Yeah.
So but my main concern was making sure everybody was all right.
Yeah.
With what was going on, because I was out for the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then it hurt. It started hurting us. I think I hit the corner of the steps or something.
Right. Well, on your way down.
Yeah, I hit something because my right leg was killing me. And so by then, with all that going on, I had to wait till it was probably about 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. I requested a Humvee to come pick. I was like, I cannot walk. And when I requested, they said, well, right now we don't have any Humvees. Most of them are being used for other purposes. They said, you're going to have to walk the 6 miles back because you got to get back anyways at this certain time for the rotation. I said, well, all right, fuck it. So, now we're going 6 miles back. And then I was out. When we finally got back, I was probably out in bed rest for about 3 weeks.
I would imagine falling off a second deck story.
Yeah.
Building and almost missing.
And the only thing Doc could give me was, I was pretty doped out on pain meds, but he said it was Tylenol. I think it was something stronger because I was, knocked out pretty bad.
Yeah.
That was one thing that I remember.
Now, did you think that you got hit with you got hit with a concussion from the RPG, or when you came
No,
to?
I think I just missed the damn platform.
So you realized you just missed it. It wasn't from a.
afterwards.
I'm saying like whenever you fell off, RPG goes off like midair. As soon as you step off, it hits. Did you think that you got hit when you came to eventually, or
No.
you just didn't remember? Yeah, okay, you just thought that you fell and.
No, yeah, I just thought I fell, but the RPG thing didn't hit me because it happened so quick. Like me thinking that the RPG hit me didn't go across my mind.
I got you.
It happened so quick, and then I blacked out and got knocked out. And then when I came to finally, and Doc got me, only thing I could think of was everybody else to make sure everybody else is good.
Yeah, gotcha.
So like that didn't really cross my mind. But yeah, so that was probably within I think that was about a month in. We've been there about a month in so far.
Okay.
And then they also issued us flight suits. So we had these tan flight suits. That's what they called them. They look like what the pilots would wear. So I guess in different scenarios that we'd have to do different types of patrols. We'd have to look for HVTs, certain things like that. So we did some of those missions. We would drive around. Sometimes it'd be either, south of the town or north of the town or whatever. And we found one guy because that's what they told us. They gave us the brief. They gave a picture of what he looked like. They said there's the vicinity of the area. We know that he lives around there, but he's been hard to track. Like he comes and goes, in the middle of the night, stuff like that. So they believed that he was helping out, ISIS at the time.
Yeah.
With the bombings and stuff, because they're so poor, they get paid to do certain things, to try to feed their families. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we had one of those. We did that. I kind of felt it was a little bit different. I mean, even though we trained on it, but it was a little bit different from our conventional, training and warfare kind of thing. But we were in those new MRAPs. And we got MRAPs at the time.
Okay.
So we got to do that. When we found the guy, I don't remember if he was at a market or at his house. But we snatched him, and then we bagged him and tagged him. Put him in the back of the MRAP, and then we verified that it was him, and then we took him back to the main fob.
Okay.
And then there were these civilians. I'm assuming they were civilians in regular clothes, like collar shirts, blue jeans, stuff like that. And we put them in these cages in there, and they would call them up into this room. They would have guard there, somebody who's doing the guard, and they'll take them in the room, and I guess they'll do their interrogation or whatever.
Probably like CIA or something.
I don't know. They didn't tell us who they were.
That's probably one. Yeah.
We didn't ask, but they were just in civilian clothes,
Yeah.
They were just normal looking people. So we did some of those missions. Let's see, what else? Now, again, you would rotate back to your battalion fob because you would have to do all the stuff that you would need to do in battalion.
Right.
And so at this time, I think, so one of them, I remember going back, our platoon got set to be security for the battalion fob. And now this was massive. You had an ECP-1, ECP-2 was on the rear. The ECP-1 was the front entrance.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had a rear entrance/exit. And then it had 6 posts on the sides. So it was a big fob. And you had 2 people up there at all times. Then you had the what we call COC. I think they call it TOC now or something like that. But
we call it COC still.
okay,
too.
all right.
I don't know if they changed it like as of 2025, but that's what we still called it back in 19 when I got out.
Yeah. So we had the COC up there with all the big people. You know what I mean, like bars that you don't really normally see in your normal workups and stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
And so you got battalion headquarters up there, and then they had the eagle in the sky, which is this cool. I mean, from looking at it from down, because it was pretty high up there. There's this big camera lens looking thing. It was like a circular lens, and it just rotates, and you can see anything and everything. It went from infrared to the white noise, the green, to you could switch them around.
Yeah.
So some of us had to rotate up there also to command the radio and the eagle in the sky. And then part of the platoons you'd be QRF if you needed to be, and then the other platoon would be the ones that rotated through the ECPs and the post.
Yeah.
So there, you got your main different branches and stuff like that as well that comes in and goes through there a lot. You got a big battalion, the mess hall there. They got movie tent. It's a tent, but it's like a little movie theater that you can go in there if you're off. You know what I mean? But yeah, we did that. Now remember, again, I don't know if it was this one or the one before that, but one of my boots was hit with he wasn't hit, but it was around him. It was either RPGs or mortars. I think it was a mortar, but I cussed him out after what happened. But anyways, he was getting mortared and he was freaking out, and he was trying to call on the radio, and then QRF ran over, and I was after they found out what happened, and the whole time he was on his little PlayStation thing, and and he was on the wrong channel, so because he was flipping the fuck out, and he was on the wrong channel calling somebody else. I don't know who he was calling, So I cussed him out after. I said, dude, don't ever take whatever you're taking over there. I said, we got a job to do, and that's your job. I was like, just leave that shit back in your bag or whatever.
Right.
And then we had one where it was me and another one of my boots. We were in ECP 1. And so if you don't know, you got all these roadblocks, barriers and stuff set up a certain way. So if a car does come, it, gradually slows them down as they're going through this obstacle that you set up. And then each yardage, you have certain, I forgot what it's called now.
Signs.
Yeah, I forgot what the process was called because it's been so long. But anyways, if they pass this certain yardage, so let's just say at 400 yards, you have to shoot a pin flare, and then that 300 yards, you have to, shoot your actual rifle, in front of them. I forgot what it was called. But anyways, we had an incident one time where this, by then, the Iraqi FOB was closed down. So at this time, we're probably about maybe 5 months in, 4 or 5 months in, and they shut them down. So now it's just us. So they told us, no, there should be no traffic other than military personnel. And if it's somebody else, then you call it in, or we will let you know. The talk or the COC will let you know if there's a schedule for something, and then we'll give you a heads up.
Right.
So I remember there was this like burgundy reddish vehicle. You could see it, and I looked at him and I said, "Hey, we have anything?" Because you have to write it down on the notepad up there when you sign in. You have to sign in, kind of like you're clocking in almost, at what time you came in, and then any notes. I said, "Is there any notes? Because there's a red vehicle coming, down our road here." He said, "No." He said, "No, there's no notes." So pop the pin flare, and they're still coming. They're not coming fast. They're just driving up. I'll probably say maybe 15 miles an hour or maybe something like that. And I say, all right, they're not stopping. So we grab these fluorescent orange flags and we wave them. They're not coming. I said, all right, here we go. So I put up my rifle. I shoot right in front of them as they're coming, and you can see the dust pop up Nothing. I said, all right, get ready on that 240. And he said, Roger. So he got set up and he's waiting. And so I put one in his in front of the grill.
Engine block.
Yeah.
To hit that?
Well, I tried to, but I remember hitting. I think I hit the bumper or some crap. And then he stops. Now, by then, when he stops, he's probably about maybe, I think it's like 150, maybe 100 yards from the whole, roadblock thing that we set up. And so I was like, all right, call it in. I said, I'm going to go out here and talk to him. I said, you got to cover me. I said, but call it in first and tell them, because by then we had to tell them all the steps that we took for this process.
Yeah, your warning shots and whatnot.
Yeah. So he called it in. I told him I was going out there and talk to him. I said, just cover me. Make sure you cover me. And they, of course, they didn't speak any English. I said, hey, it was a older man and a young, maybe a teenager kid. I said, this road is closed. I said, you can't come here. There's nothing this way. I said, you're not allowed here. You have to turn back around. And then they started speaking still, and I said, turn back around,
Yeah.
So then they turned back around and left. And so nothing happened, luckily, because they're still doing, suicide bombs and stuff on the vehicles and stuff like that. They still had IEDs, but then one thing I didn't like is we had to write a report on why we did what we did. So that's one thing that kind of got under my skin. I was like,
Right.
dude, you tell us this is what we have to do, and now we got a report to tell you why we did it. I was like, this is fucking stupid,
So you didn't have any fear of going up there to talk to these people? Like that was protocol
No.
to talk to them?
No, that didn't cross my mind.
Okay.
I didn't think about I didn't think about, okay, I'm like, is he gonna blow me up or not? My mind was, for one, doing my job that I need to do, and two, I trust him enough to cover me, if anything else popped off. Because either way, if it's gonna blow up, it's gonna blow up. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, and he was closer to the barriers. He wasn't that far from the barriers. You know what I mean? So if he would have thought to do it before I got too close, I could have got behind the barriers, and hopefully that would have helped, or protect me a little bit. But if he did it right then, it doesn't matter. I mean,
Was that protocol for you guys to go out there and talk to them?
yeah,
Like, was
that was part of the protocol.
That
Yes,
was part of the stuff
yeah.
that you guys had to go through?
Yeah.
So this is kind of where I get fucking pissed off, because how the fuck you supposed to do that without an interpreter? So it makes zero sense to me.
That's true. We didn't at the time. None of the interpreters came with us on post. Now when we're doing different missions and foot patrols and stuff, every interpreter went with us,
Yeah.
no matter what. Now before, again, we would have the Iraqi police there with us, but again, they were already, that fob was decommissioned.
Yeah.
So no, we didn't have anybody there.
Yeah, that's kind of stupid on the
So-
Marine Corps part.
So I remember I remember going to Chow Hall with one of my peers, one of my good buddies. We're going to Chow Hall. As we were walking to the Chow Hall, now this is still on battalion fob. We're still there. We see these little birds, like 3 or 4 of them come in, and there's people hanging off of them. And we're like, we looked at each other. I was like, who the fuck is that, dude? He's like, I don't know. So we kind of sat there and watched as they were going by, and they circled down onto the flight deck, and these guys come out, out of the little bird, and they're in blue jeans, their combat boots and collar shirt and all their gear. I was like, who the fuck are these people? Full beards.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know, dude. I said, damn. I was like, what's going on? He's like, I don't know. I said, all right. So we went to the chow hall, and after we ate, we came back, and then I started asking around. I was like, anybody hear about these guys, coming in on the little birds? And they're like, no. So then later on that day, I found out that there were SEALs. They didn't say what SEALs. They didn't say what team. They just said SEALs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were there doing some stuff. And then by then we got back and out to our little fobs back out.
Yeah.
Because our last month and a half, I think it was like a month and a half or so, we were back out there. And then they came around and asked if anybody wanted to do, a little mission with them. Well, like, they didn't say a mission, but anybody want to go out with us.
Yeah.
So I was like, shoot. And I looked at my guys, I was like, y'all want to go? And they're like, yeah. I said, all right, we'll go.
That's tight.
Yeah, so that one was fun. All we did was get on the we just patrolled the Euphrates River on little boats. So that but nothing happened. But
That's still pretty cool though.
Yeah,
Getting to go out there with SEALs. I'm guessing the whole point of that whole thing was either a show of force or look for contact.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But our main focus was because looking out from a bigger picture, our engineers were working on their city, so they were like trying to give them electricity, because you could still see some of these. When I was there, you could still see some of these people just going off of like these small generators,
Mm-hmm.
and then the water they hooked up these hose pipes and other small generators to the. Like, they would chain link all these hose pipes, and you'll see this long ass hose pipe go down to the river. And so,
That's how they got their water.
yeah, that's how they got their water.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So like these people didn't have much of nothing,
Yeah.
and it was already blown to pieces anyways, half the city. So our engineers, I've noticed while I was there, they were trying to fix electricity. They were trying to fix the roads. I was told they were working on their trash system, because there was trash all over the place. They just throw their trash out in the road and dirt and stuff like that. So that's what they were doing while we were trying to, get intel, kind of protect the city at the same time, and look for certain people that we needed to.
Mm-hmm. Any firefighters in besides the one from falling off the roof?
I don't remember any other firefights that we had.
So I mean, we've talked about it before, but falling off of a roof or a second story,
second story, yeah.
Being injured, that's never reported to. That's never really documented as you were like a hospital, which kind of
No.
Which I know you're kind of. That's a problem, because when you get out, they say it's not service connected. But how the fuck can you do that in a combat zone? It's like really difficult. So,
yeah, I don't. Again, I don't know if it was reported at all to anybody higher than my platoon commander.
I mean, you wasn't worried about that,
I told them.
I'm saying, I'm sure you wasn't worried. Like, hey, did you say this?
Oh,
you know
no, yeah, it didn't come up.
That wasn't
Yeah.
a big priority for you. I doubt it was. So
Yeah, especially when I, after being doped up for 2 or 3 weeks, because I couldn't walk at all. I was. It was hard trying to get back. That whatever it was, 5 or 6 miles trying to get back. I was struggling.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, and then after that, when that didn't even cross my mind, because they're like, all right, you gotta go back out for this. So, okay.
Yep, that's how it normally goes.
So yeah, I don't remember any other firefights. I don't remember. Again, I know one of my boots, it was either RPG or a mortar. I do remember seeing a lot of helos going around, like even choppers, the attack helicopters going around in certain areas. Like, you can see them from a distance.
Yeah.
And they're doing their work, which was pretty cool. I got to see that when I was back in the main fob. Like,
I remember you telling me one of your guys, you made him catch a donkey or something.
Oh yeah. So this was back at our little fob, and so we would so the PX, they would have a PX truck come around. It was like once a month, and all it was a 7-ton, and on the back of it was a Connex box, and they turned it into a little PX.
Yeah.
It had a cash register, it even had an ATM in the back of it, and it had all this crap in it, from jerky to canned meat to movies to chips, stuff like that. And so they would do that, but they would also send us. Oh yeah, that just reminded me too. So I'll get into that too. Damn, dude, my memory sucks. But yeah, so they gave us. So they would do that, and they would drop off food, because we also had our kitchen in the police station that we took over was a microwave. So that was our kitchen. Because we had these big ass generators. They would come and would drop off gas and we'd fill them up. But anyways, so they would send us like Hot Pockets sometimes, chicken, steaks, stuff like that. And it would just be once. It's not much, but it's once a month it would come by, including the PX. So if you wanted something, you go in there and buy something. They also dropped off peanut oil, vegetable oil, peanut oil. Anyways, it was like they dropped off 2 5-gallons of oil. And we're like, oh, what the fuck are we going to do with these? They're like, they told us to give them to y'all. I said, well, we don't have a thing to use this with. We don't have nothing. They said, drop it off, so we're dropping off. And, and they left. So sometimes we would trade with the locals on certain things. So we found somebody who would trade us because they wanted the oil, and they gave us a sheep and 2 cartons of eggs. So we would trade them that, and they gave us a sheep. And I don't know who made that agreement, because I wasn't part of this agreement. I was like, what the fuck are we going to do with a sheep? I said, we don't have anything. They said, oh, we can make a grill. So I'm over here cutting this barrel down and turning it into a grill. I found this. I cut part of the Hesco barrier, the wire, and used that as a top part. So I'm over here rigging stuff up to try to make a grill. And then now this sheep's running around in our little compound, running around. And so, we get stupid. You know how Marines are. When we get bored, we do dumb stuff. So I bet one of my boots. I said, I'll give you, I think it was like $20 or $40, something like that. I said, I'll give you some money, and I want to see how long you can ride this sheep. And he said, okay, let's go. So he got on there. He's trying to chase him. And he's chasing around the whole compound, and everybody's laughing, And then he finally jumps on it and holds on, and is dragging him around, the whole compound.
Yeah.
And he finally falls off, and I gave him the money anyways. But when I mentioned about the food, they gave us some chicken, and it looked like it was breaded. So I thought it was already, all you had to do is, because they know all we have is a microwave.
Yeah.
We have no way to cooking it. Right? So I thought that this was already pre-cooked chicken. All we had to do was heat it up.
Like frozen chicken. Yeah.
Right. Because you can see the bread around it. So I put it in the microwave, and I heat it up for like 5 minutes or so, and I take a bite of it, and I'm, eating it. And I take another bite, and I decided to look at it, and it was still raw in the middle. So I just ate raw chicken. And so I went through about a week of my stomach hurting like shit. I was shitting. It was pretty bad. I threw up. So I had food poisoning for about a week or so. Also. But that, we finally got to the chicken. I mean, not the chicken, the sheep. And so we asked the Iraqis, what's the proper way of doing this? Can we just do it? They're like, no, we have to do it. I was like, all right. So they get the sheep down, they hold the neck up like this, so the neck is exposed. I got the head like this, and then they're sitting there doing their prayer to, thank God for food and all that, blah, blah, nourish the body, blah, blah. And then one of the peers, another team lead comes over, and he's like, I ain't got time for this shit. And he grabs a bayonet and just slices the sheep's neck. I looked down. I was like, dude. I said, we sleep with these people, right? We're in the same compound. He's like, I ain't got time for this. And they were going off. And then the interpreter was going off. And he was like, you shouldn't have done that. And they were like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right. Everybody calm down, please.
Oh, my God.
I was like, we don't need this right now. I said, because, in the back of my mind, I still don't trust y'all. I don't care
Yeah.
who you work for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's plenty of stories about people that the United States hired to help us out, interpreters for one,
yeah,
and get intel, and then obviously maybe it starts out good, but then ISIS figures out that they're working with the Taliban, whatever. They threaten their family, so they have to turn on us.
right.
So it's
Yeah.
like it's either that, and it's kind of hard to blame them because I know. I mean, if you think about it, if someone grabbed your child or our mom, we're helping out a different force because we think that's the right thing to do, and then they're like, "We'll kill them if you don't help us." I mean, it's kind of hard to justify. Like, I don't know. It's
No.
they're that's a hard spot. But I know if I was in their shoes, I know who the fuck I'd pick.
Yeah,
I'd pick my kids and my family. Like, it's just
exactly.
no brainer there. But yeah, that's why you can't really trust them.
Yeah,
That's just
and
maybe not in all cases. Maybe there are some like integrated spies and all that. Because I don't really know how well these guys are vetted.
right. That's true.
I mean, like, what records are there in
Yeah.
Iraq of who this guy was? It's not like here where we have a criminal record sheet and we can figure out where you worked, where you've been at, and who exactly you are, and if you had any ties for the, So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because most of them, we probably have them in our system, but like, who's really watching what they're doing the day to day?
nobody, yeah.
They don't have the resources, nor are we going to spend the resources to watch them.
Yeah.
From their day to day. So yeah, I mean, and again, I mean, there's some of them that I did like my interpret. I don't remember his name, but he was he lived in Kuwait. So he did this for money because Kuwait. If you've ever been to Kuwait, again, it's very westernized. Everybody's dressed normal like we would. I wouldn't say normal. Everybody's dressed like we would dress, and there's no face covers or nothing like that. They have a whole city. It looks like Atlanta almost.
Yeah.
So that's where he would come down and help because he knew he was going to make great money doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So. I trusted him, but there are other interpreters there I didn't really trust, nor did I trust the Iraqi police that we were working with. Not Iraqi police, the Iraqi army.
Yeah, because there's plenty of stories about them running. Just the first sign of contact, they just disappear.
Yeah,
and it's like you'll never see those guys again.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they'll flip out or forget all the stuff that we taught them. But we also had, I remember in a couple previous episodes, you said you had a pet tarantula.
Yeah, Larry.
So, yeah, we also had pets, hedgehogs. So we would have burn pits that we had over there. We'd throw all of our trash in, and then we'd have to burn it. But before we burn them, it just piled up, and you hear stuff, and then you walk over there, it's hedgehogs. And they're probably about, like that big and round. So we found two of them, and we kept them and, took them to our little
Leave it to Marines to do that crap.
and we named them Sonic and Hedgehog, of course. But we fed them, and they stayed with us. And then when we did leave, we just let them back out. I'll tell you one thing I did hate, though, was the flies. You wouldn't think there would be that many flies because it's a desert,
Yeah.
and you're out in there and just straight desert, no shade. There's a lot of damn flies, dude. I remember when we were in back on the battalion fob, on when you're sitting in the post, they're just, especially because you're sweating, you're just sitting there sweating anyways because it's so hot. But they're all over. I mean, you have at least 50 flies all over you. So we would have to set up. They'll give us fly traps, and we set them up. And we set up 20, 30 of them. They'll be full within an hour or so. And you take those down, you set some more up. I have no idea where these flies come from, but that was probably the way. I think I ate one time too. I was talking and it just flew in my mouth, and I swallowed it and about died.
Nasty.
Yeah, it was nasty. I probably, because I remember this part of the mouth right here was like, infected. I think it's because of the fly.
Yeah,
But-
probably nasty ass thing.
But yeah, they also had, scorpions and stuff out there you had to be careful and look out for. But yeah, I mean, that was probably it right there. I don't really remember much.
Yeah, it's been
And
a
I
while.
think I'm getting some of the stories mixed, but I don't remember again. Y'all gonna have to help me out in the comments. My memory is horrible.
I think it runs in our family, man. You know, some of our family has Alzheimer's.
And if y'all do remember something, put it in the comments. Because some things I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, mine wasn't. You know, I went to Norway.
Mm-hmm.
No, we were pretty disappointed to go to Norway for one, and then the workup itself was just stupid. And then when you got over there, there was a lot of training. It's kind of like if you go to Japan or wherever else, you know, getting deployments that way, same things. Just wasn't really a combat zone. They told us that the reason why we were there was some kind of big port over that way that was important to the U.S. that if Russia got it, or I think the main concern was Russia. If they got it, it'd be an issue because then they would control just about like 60% of everything that the U.S. brings in.
Yeah.
As far as like military, civilian, whatever, along with everyone that Russia's enemies with, they would have control almost 100% of that port. It was a very big main port for strategic reasons. So we were basically a reactionary force if something were to happen.
Right.
For that. So we went over there. It was summertime over there, but it was like the end of one season, but it was going into summertime and it was still just cold as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Snow was still on the ground, so we were. I remember we flew in. I don't know if it was like as an airline or whatever it was, but we just like slept on the ground. It was like a 20 hour flight.
Yeah.
And we just slept on the middle aisles. You know, people were piled on top of each other. We got our assault packs, our LB packs, all that. LB packs are underneath, but we had our assault packs.
Yeah.
And then we had our rifles and everything else. And there was like flight attendants that would come by with like peanuts and stuff. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. So we land, we get to it's a Norwegian little base that their military operates out of too. And there's a couple like barracks, nicer barracks than what we have back in the States that we're in. But I still I think it's 4 dudes per room.
Oh, okay.
Usually it's per every fire team. And then your squad leaders had their own room.
Okay.
And platoon sergeants and them had their own like berthing area with like H&S company.
Okay.
But they had like their own rooms and stuff like that.
Bunk beds?
Yeah, bunk beds.
Okay.
But not like old bunk. I mean, it's like pretty, you know, it's something you'd buy at a store.
Okay.
And then they had a chow hall there that we had to grow accustomed to because they have like their food standards are like super healthy. So it's like, you know, very, very, very few times you find anything fried. Most of the stuff was grilled. It's like fish, a lot of fish.
Yeah.
They would have like burgers, maybe some lamb, some meatballs, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really ever too fried. No like burgers every now and then, French fries every now and then, but it's mainly just healthy food or whatever. So you go to the chow, there's like civilian workers. I remember we had to start doing patrols within the base. Now they have cameras all around this base and like the fence and then houses are right beside the fence. There's like a little bike trail that separated the fence and the houses from the base. That's it.
Whose houses?
Civilians.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that close to the base?
Yeah. like they would wave at us from their top window and be like, hey, you know, like, hey. And we're just patrolling. I mean, we're not really, you know, whatever, but there's a main gate and there's people that's there. You have to sign in and out.
Mm-hmm.
There's Norwegian people that cover that. And then there's like different little smaller outposts for the other gates and stuff like that. But everything has cameras. And
Right.
the main place sees all the cameras.
Right.
It's usually stationed by like 10 to 8 guys and girls because they had females in there throughout the base too.
Yeah.
But we had to go on these patrols, and it was just like to get back into patrolling.
Right.
And I was like,
yeah.
what the fuck are we patrolling? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. So I took my team out. They were like, okay, this squad's first. We just send teams. So it'd be like our team. I took my guys out. We're walking. Told them to stop. Like, okay, let's make a fire plan sketch. Found this like little hill, looking at some of the barracks. It's a different part of the base. I was like, do a quick fire plan sketch, and then we'll head back.
Yeah.
So we head back, and I remember it was like they woke us up at like 2 a.m. Like, we're going on patrol. So I was like, okay. Like, yeah, your team's going. I was like, whatever. Told my guys to get up. We walked maybe like 200 meters behind, like in this like woodline area. I was like, all right, let's just chill here.
Mm-hmm.
Every so often I radioed to COC. Someone was at COC. We had the radio in.
Yeah.
All right, this part's clear.
Yeah.
So as I was radioing, it made it sound like we were walking.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's go back. I went back. I was like, dog, this is fucking stupid.
I mean, I understand why they do it. So that way you're not losing that, like the feel of,
I get it.
you're not,
I get it, but
you're not somewhere that you're not, where it's not combative, right?
right.
So that way you're still staying on top of your stuff. But if you're having to do it like, every day, I'll kind of say that's a little
Each
excessive.
platoon had a day, or each platoon had like a week,
Yeah.
and then we rotated each week if we weren't training out there.
Yeah.
I remember we had the Royal Marines come too.
Okay.
So we had like, I think there was like a fire team, maybe four of them, and it was like an equivalent of a staff sergeant, and they were like corporals and sergeant ranks, so equivalent with them. And they were all fucking yoked.
Yeah.
All they did, the gym there was amazing. There was
Yeah.
like it was indoor gym, 2 basketball courts, free weights, soccer mini goals, and running machines up top.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like your state of art gym, but it was still nicer than what, it's nicer than 29 Palms' gym. So, I mean, it was nice. So we would always be working out with them or go out with them, but they were attached to one of our company. And we would just, they would just train with us or whatever,
Yeah.
or do whatever the hell they were doing there. But I remember I got really cool with them. They all like soccer.
Mm-hmm.
I love soccer. So we'd play soccer with the Norwegians. They had a big soccer field out on base. We'd play soccer with the Norwegian people there, Army guys. They would come out if they weren't working that day.
Yeah.
They'd come out after we got off work, play soccer for 2 or 3 hours. And they enjoyed it. So I made good friends with them. They were making fun of them for their salutes. So they do that.
Is that how they salute?
Yeah, they go like that. And I was like, 'cause I remember them saluting one of our officers. I was like, the fuck are you doing? He was like, saluting. And I was like, that's not how we salute. He was like, yeah, you guys do it wrong. So there was an argument there.
Yeah.
I guess, so he told me the reason why they do it. One of the officers back in the day got stabbed when they did this because he hid a knife here. And as soon as the officer went right past him, they stabbed an officer. So now the tradition is to do this so you show that you're not a threat. There's nothing in your
Oh,
hands.
okay.
So, because that when you come up with your salute, you can see both sides of the hand.
Right.
Something of that nature. So some of the training stuff that we did was like cross country skiing with all your gear in your pack. And I remember you had to go through like this little ski lesson, figure out how to use it. I didn't know what skins were for your bottom of your skis. They basically hook. If you're going uphill, you won't slide down and it'll hook the snow.
Oh, okay.
So it's just as if you're walking or sliding your feet. But if you go downhill, you still ski.
Right.
So that way you can tread up and ski down. You don't go as fast when you ski down. It slows you down a lot, but it's less work, so you don't have to sit there and walk.
Right.
But you can go up. You can go up, hills with the skis on.
Okay.
So you do all that. Learn how to do that. Learn how to ski. Your ski poles, all that. And I remember we were doing this long ass hike, and we have our ilby packs on. Everything we own, like just everything. So there's like a small hill, and on the end of it, and went curved like that. It wasn't very big. But you just see small holes in the snow. I mean, this is like 10 feet of snow. You see like small holes, and like we were like, what the fuck was that? And they're like, dude, that's people falling. I was like, okay. One of the shorter guys went down, and he fell face first, and he couldn't get out of the snow because his pack's not on top of him.
Yeah.
So we have to go over there, take our packs off, trudge through this thick ass snow that's not packed.
Yeah.
And then pull him out, and all you saw was his feet just like he was like, get me out of here. And we were like laughing at him. During our cross country skiing, we saw, so at one point, I have a picture of it too. One foot is in Sweden and one foot's in Norway.
Okay.
So there's mountains and snow and stuff like that separate those two countries.
Right.
But it's because Sweden has like open borders, I wouldn't say open borders, but they're a neutral country. So it's not as, they're not really concerned with, I don't know. If you're Sweden, I guess let me know. But there was no one out there to stop us from crossing into Sweden.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were like there. That's what they told us. It was really beautiful. I mean, it's like the sun was like just coming up. It's real nice. It's like something you'd get out of a screensaver.
Yeah.
And then you can just step 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and like you're in Norway. So then we ski past that or walk past that. the biggest issue, I say issue. The hardest thing was building our camp or our little fobs throughout training because we had to build snow caves
Right.
and they take fucking forever.
Yeah.
And they have to be within so much feet of snow. That way, if someone walks on top of it, that doesn't collapse. Certain ways you got to build it. And not only do you have to dig into snow, but if you think about it, you're trying to throw all the snow out horizontally backwards. Because now you got to get to shovel all the snow out that you just dug out of this hole.
Right.
And then you got to build your beds. The beds have to be concave, like a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be smooth, or else your body heat will melt some of the snow, and then it'll drip on your stuff. So then you'll be wet,
Yeah.
and then the sleeping stuff won't be effective. We had happy suits then too, so you have to smooth it all out. And I remember me and my buddy. I don't know how it happened, but I wasn't with my team. I guess it was me and a couple of other team leaders.
Mm-hmm.
It was me, my boy Young, and we were in one snow cave together. And we, at the front of it is like a fighting station. It's like a little trench, basically. And you build it up with snow. But on it, we made like a little couch. We made like a little stove area for our jet boils. And like we did like an MTV Cribs episode with our phones. It was just really cool. It was something to build morale.
Yeah.
And that was probably the hardest part of being out there in training, is building the snow caves, along with, cross-country skiing with 100-something pound pack.
Yeah.
Your flak and all this other shit. It's a lot. And then they did give us tents. So the tents were also a pain in the ass because they came with a stove. But someone had to stoke the stove, and then it like goes all the way up through the tent. And it was like, it's made for that. The stove.
Okay. Yep.
And it keeps heat in. But the biggest thing is now you have to make it, the tents be like 7 foot tall.
Okay.
So you have to build snow around that to make it not look like a tent.
Right.
So you got to build snow around your tent almost 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is retarded. I was like, dude, just put me in the snow. Just give me a sleeping sack and let's just lay down. This is crazy. One of the interesting things was the Norwegian people, the army or whatever, military showed us. They're like, okay, who thinks 6 feet of compact snow versus 6 feet of unpacked snow with slits in the middle is going to stop a bullet first, AK round? And of course, we're all like, oh, the compact snow, because it's all compact and hard. So they said, okay, cool. So they built two little things. So they'll compact snow and leave a small void, compact snow, void, 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 void. All the way the same length as the other one that's completely compact. And they sat there and shot multiple AK rounds through. I think it broke through like 2 or 3 of the barriers of the non-compact snow, and in the compact snow went almost all the way. All of them almost went through.
Wow.
And they're like, okay, so this is why we build this is why we're telling you to build voids in your defensive position, because it's going to stop. Apparently, somehow, because if it's compact, it doesn't have much. It has resistance, but the bullets is staying on plane as it goes through.
Right.
When it cuts non-compact snow or the voids, it'll start doing this and lose momentum, like it would if you hit a wall or something like that. It'll start bouncing.
Yeah.
With the snow, because of the heat, the spin, the momentum, it'll go straight and continue straight.
Right.
Instead of bouncing and then losing momentum and stopping within the void. You can see the bullet sitting there in the void.
That makes sense.
No, it didn't make sense to us when he
I'm
bet us.
saying, well, that makes sense after you explained it. That makes sense.
But after they showed us, because it was like, bullshit.
Yeah, I would have thought a compact, hard, snow would stop.
Yeah,
a bullet.
Yeah, so apparently, definitely not. There was a lot of training like that. Another thing that we did that I thought was pretty cool is they teach you how, because we're skiing with a bunch of weight, if you fall through the snow, let's say we're going over a lake and we don't realize we're going over a pond or a lake, and you fall in, what do you do? So they cut this big ass giant hole out of the damn lake that we're standing on top of. They ensure that, the part that we're standing on is solid. Like, this is a training area they usually always use. And then you have your pack. I don't think it's like your pack. It's like just a pack, and it has like stuff in it, just so everyone just could use it right after another, so that way they don't get their pack sweat. They allowed us to strip down into our underwear and our little thin snow snow camis, and it's like super thin. It's like nylon material.
Right.
It's like, okay, so you get your pack on, you got skis on, your poles, and you have to jump in. Well, the pack and you have to wrap this rope around your waist and then a rope around the pack just in case you freak out and you can't find your way up. You swim or something, they can pull you back to save you. So we have to sit there and jump into the water. And I remember, I think it was like during the middle, we were going on this long, like 2-week training exercise. And they were like, yo, Yee. My staff sergeant called me over. I was like, what's? I was like, yes, staff sergeant. He was like, hey, just so you know, you're going to have a Norwegian newspaper person following you. I said, roger that, staff sergeant. Like, my team? He's like, no, you. I was like, why me? I was like, leave me. I don't want to babysit this guy. Turned out to be a pretty cool experience. I got the newspaper. I bought 2 copies.
Okay.
And I got 2. And hopefully they don't, they're sitting in my little safe thing just for memories because it has my picture, a bunch of Norwegian words.
Yeah.
But yeah, throughout the whole thing, he's taking pictures. He's asking me questions the best he can. A lot of them know English. It's just, harder to understand with their accent.
Right.
And he was right there. So I jumped into the water. The immediate shock, my first instinct is to get up and get out. Yeah. So I'm trying to control my breathing, and I'm also got my pack because you have to retrieve the pack. You got to retrieve all your stuff. And like you swim out one-handed like you do in this pool for swim quals.
Swim quals, yeah.
Swim on your pack. You throw the pack up first, and then you use your ski poles. The bottom of them have the little spikes. You pull your hands down to the spikes and use your ski poles to climb out of the river.
Okay. Yeah.
So I throw my pack out and I look up. They're like, I swing my head up to clear the water from my eyes, and this little reporter's got a camera and is sitting there like right in my face and is like getting pictures and video. And I'm like, in my head, I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is crazy. But this is like day number like 10, 11. No shower, no change of clothes. Like we're just sucking it up.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, I finally calmed down after I got my pack out. I was like, I can finally breathe normally again. That I'm accustomed, telling my mind to calm down and breathe. Yeah. Because it only took me about 3 to 4 seconds to get my pack out of that water when I jumped in. Yeah. But you don't feel like I didn't feel cold. The immediate shock, it wasn't like I was freezing. It was just I couldn't like your breath was taken away like in a cold shower. Yeah. But you didn't feel like the cold. You didn't feel that till afterwards. So after I calmed down, I was like, damn, dude, like I really could use a shower. So I'm trying to wash my hair, and they're like, they told my Rosa was like, yo, you dumbass, you lost a ski, go get it. And I was like, I'm not going down there because like the bottom of this lake is like, it's not very deep, but the bottom is nothing but like brown plants and gook, and it was just disgusting. I was like, fuck that, I'm not going down there. Yeah. So I lost one of my skis. And so get out, and then you go to a fire. Had to answer this dude's questions real quick, and I was like, just come over here to the fire with me because now I'm freezing. Yeah. Now that I'm out, go next to the fire, you warm up, continue on about get into your camis that you took off before. We were told to bring a change of underwear and like one of the dry sacks, change of underwear and socks. They said, all right, you're going to need this day, whatever. We didn't know what for, and then now we know. Throughout that week too, we also had to do a survival week. Okay. Apparently, there's like there was some kind of forest that you couldn't cut trees down in where we were doing this. So they brought logs to us that were cut down from an area. So we didn't have to cut our own logs. But they taught us how to build a shelter. We had to build shelters, provide. This is when it was with one of my team. We had to build shelters, hunt for food or whatever. Apparently couldn't hunt this time, or else we would have hunted for our food and went to go hunting with guns and stuff. So they brought us like raw chicken. And we made like a house area that's like this, and you just slept under here because there's still snowing and shit. And then on the front of you, you build your fire, and then you build a log wall and behind the fire, so the fire reflects the heat onto y'all when you sleep. Right. Fill the top up with green, and then you pack a snow on top of it to maintain visual, so you don't look like a tent, it looks like snow. Right. Or like a little shelter. Camouflage. Camouflage. But I remember we were issued our little snow things. Each team had the little thing I talked about in the deployment workup 2. The fleet workup 2, with the little poles that go behind you, and it holds a little sked. Oh yeah, that has all your stuff in it. Yeah. We had that. Had our shovel, our makeshift tent, and then the stove and all this other stuff They issued us butane stoves as well.
Okay.
So I remember they gave us this raw chicken.
Yeah.
We already had a fire going. We maintained the fire. And I was like, how the fuck are we going to cook this chicken? Well, they gave us all a little, it's not big. It was like a little personal size, small chicken.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how the fuck are we going to cook this chicken? So we put our shovel onto the fire,
Yeah.
cooked it on the shovel. And that's how we ate it, man. And it was like, there's a picture of me holding up with my team because they wanted to do a picture. We're sitting there holding up Terminal Lance.
Terminal Lance.
So that was pretty cool. And the libo that we got, I won't go too much into it because it's just this. Every single libo is just Marines drinking and being stupid. But we finally got a multi-day pass. There was every time the weekend came, we had to be back on base at a certain time.
Okay.
So we finally got an overnight pass. They were like, if you guys want to do it, you guys got to apply for it. We also had duty, so if you had duty, you couldn't go overnight.
Yeah.
You couldn't go on libo. So we got an overnight pass, and a lot of the senior dudes that were from the first deployment were here. We decided to go out. So we rented an Airbnb, and we was like that day, yeah, we rented an Airbnb. The bad thing was you don't have to pay for international Wi-Fi and stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
Bad thing you do?
Like, yeah, because that's expensive.
Yeah.
That's like minutes, like back in the day when minutes cost
Oh,
money.
okay, yeah.
So it's like really expensive just to make a phone call or be on the internet. So it was less expensive if you went out in town and bought one of the little Wi-Fi pucks from the Norwegian stores.
Okay.
So it gives you Wi-Fi, you pay a monthly fee, or you reload it with a card or whatever the case is with money, and you can use that. And so that's what I bought. I bought one of those, and if they wanted to use it, they just paid me like $5 for the day, and they could use it. So that's how we bought the Airbnb and all that.
Okay.
Split that. And everything in Norway is expensive. Like a beer is like $10 American.
Woo.
Yeah, a burger and stuff was like $20. I guess it's not expensive now, but a beer for $10 is pretty expensive.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
There was one bar close to the gate that we all went to and hung out, and he made a shit ton of money off of us because whatever. But we got an Airbnb. You had to take the so there's a Trondheim is the major city that we were in. I think it was, or Trondheim is the major city we were trying to go to. Ours was something called something else, but you had to take a train to it. They had like taxis, and they were like all Teslas, but we were like, train was just a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. So we just all got on the train, got off on our stop, went into Trondheim, beautiful city, a lot of historic stuff. There's like an old castle up there. It's like the culture is crazy. Like it's to experience somebody else's culture it's really a good experience. But we went to this like little area. It's like a little bay where the boats stock into, and the bay opens up, and there's like restaurants and stuff like that. Well, there's like this club, and so we go in there, get a table, and we're sitting there getting beers and whatnot. There's people dancing on the table, like Norwegian people dancing and girls dancing, not like stripping, but they're just dancing. And it's like old. It's either like old timey music, or it's like old hits, not old timey, but old hits, or it's like dubstep techno.
Okay.
And then it'd be mixing back and forth, but we didn't we was like, fuck it, we're out here, let's have a good time.
Yeah.
So I remember we get done. Some of the guys like found girls or take back to the Airbnb and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
We get to the we get a taxi at that point. It was one of the guys when we first got there to get us around Trondheim. We told him, we're gonna text you from this little app, and we was like, look, you're gonna make a lot of money tonight if you just come when we call you, because we just needed someone on time. And so we told him where to be, what time. We hit him up. One of the guys was responsible for him. I was like, hey dude. He was like, I got it. It was like he was from like Africa or something too. Okay. Really cool dude. And we're hopping into the Airbnb or to the cab, and out of nowhere, our company commander, not our company commander, our platoon commander comes out and is like, yo. I was like, what the fuck? Yo. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then I was like, in my head, I was like, he's about to make us, like, he's about to say something to like where we shouldn't be doing or something like that, Yeah. He was like, hey, where you guys going? We're like, we're going back to our Airbnb, sir. He's like, well, I don't got anywhere to go tonight. And I was like, okay. And I was like, and then one of the guys like, you want to come with us, sir? And he was like, yeah, that'd be great. He hops in the cab, and we go up there. We actually took one of the boots out with us because he was really cool. He knew his stuff. He was like one of the guys like that. He was just a good Marine.
Right.
And so we took him out with us because it's towards like the middle, towards the end of deployment, whatever.
Yeah.
Get back to the Airbnb. I find a bed to sleep in. I remember I was pretty thrashed.
Yeah.
Some of the girls that were there, they ended up leaving, and then the next morning we woke up, and so I remember outside there was like, this is someone's house. Like I guess
Right.
they just rented out. While outside they didn't do like dryers. They did just like little rack system, and they hung up their clothes to dry.
Okay.
Somehow it got broke. So apparently the owner was mad about that. It was like, you guys got to pay. It was like, how much is it? It turned out they were asking us for like $120 for this cheap ass rack. And we were like, fuck no, we're not paying that. I was like, but we'll leave some money on the counter because we don't have like whatever system you guys like Apple Pay and shit wasn't a big thing back then.
Yeah.
So it was like, we'll leave it on the counter. Left some money on the counter. It was all good. And then we met this, when we went out into Libo, we met this, this is throughout the thing. We met this older female and her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of us, like me, young, we liked soccer. So we would go out to this. We went and found this English pub in Trondheim, and it was like the Three Lions pub or something like that. And of course, they had like their home team.
Yeah.
So us being dumbasses, we had no skin in the game. It's a whole bar full of like everyone that supports this one football club.
Right.
Well, our dumbasses are cheering for the opposite team, and they win, and it's like dead silent. Find this older chick and her boyfriend. I'm talking like she's like 40 something.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, someone started talking to her and him. I think it was Young, but he was like, "This dude's cool." She ends up throughout the time invites us to her house. She had a super nice house, like a swimming pool, everything. And let us invite whoever we wanted to there. The dude was really cool. It was nuts, dude. It was super nuts.
Yeah.
I think I'm still friends on Facebook with her, bro.
That's a little fishy right there. But,
I mean, nobody wanted that. You know what I'm saying? But she was super cool. She was trying to hook us up with one of her daughters.
yeah.
And we were like, we're leaving in like 3 months. So dude, like, we're not getting stuck here. Another thing was if you got a girl pregnant there, you had to stay.
Huh?
Apparently, it's some
What do you
kind of
mean
like,
you had to stay?
Like you have to stay and then get visa to go to be Norwegian and then raise the kid.
Is that their rule?
I think it was like Norwegian rule.
Military.
Like, yeah, there was like some kind of treaty, like that's what happens.
What?
So
I bet we lost a lot of devil dogs out there.
I don't know. Don't know how. Apparently, one of the officers got a girl pregnant, but you wouldn't know until you got back to the States. So
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know how they're going to
Right.
force you to go back, but apparently that was apparently a thing. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what they told us. So, but that lady and her boyfriend was cool. Always invited us out, would like pay for stuff for us. Like the dude would pay for beers. He was like some big tech dude.
Okay.
That had a good job in tech. And
Yeah.
he would like pay for beers, and he would be trying to hit on other girls right in front of his girlfriend, and she was
Yeah.
like, she don't care. She's like, I don't care. I was like, y'all are some swinging motherfuckers. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, wait a
Yeah.
minute. I was like, no. Went to other girls, like Norwegian people's houses that we found out in town. They was like, come back to our house. We're like, shit, all right. And it was just it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The Libo was a lot of fun. I remember we had a corporal's course there on base, and the Royal Marines wanted to go through it.
Okay.
Well, they didn't know how to march or sing cadence or nothing. Their marching is different.
Yeah.
They're like, if you want to pass this course, like you got to do this.
So was it? They told them they had to do it, or they just wanted to do it?
They wanted to do it.
Okay. They just wanted to see what it was like.
Well, they could have just watched, but they was like, well, we want to do it. Why not? I mean,
Okay.
it's just we're all bored.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So we did our corporal's course. Guys that were corporals had to go through it because obviously that's another thing to get promoted to the sergeant and all that.
Yeah.
I remember they did MMA.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things was, and so there was like a round robin. If you kept winning, you kept going. One person was a champion.
Yeah.
So I remember I was losing a lot of weight, and I was practicing, punching and all that, working out, getting my kicks in, and all this other stuff. One of the smaller guys he was like into jiu-jitsu, so they would go do jiu-jitsu in between them, they would do jiu-jitsu in the gym on their free time.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember I was like, all right, I'm fighting a bigger dude, about my size, a little bit bigger, and he seems kind of like he doesn't know what he's doing. So I knew if I got close to him, we couldn't hit in the face, but everything else was game. Face and groin, no go.
Yeah.
So it was only body shots, and that's how the points would determine whatever. I knew most of them. I was like, people don't realize that, but a leg kick hurts. A lot of people can't take a leg kick.
Yeah.
So not only do we have like the shin pads, but I've been practicing my leg kicks on the heavy bag. So as soon as I got in, I like did a feint and I kicked him in his leg and I saw him. It really hurt him.
Yeah.
So I went back in, I kicked him again, and he fell and he was like, "I'm done."
Yeah.
Another guy, same thing. The jiu-jitsu kid, he was real short.
Yeah.
He kept saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Jiu-jitsu will win in a street fight, whatever." Now I'm up against him.
Yeah.
I was like, "Man, I don't want to hurt this guy." So then as soon as I go in, I kick him in the leg. He falls down and goes and try to get guard and starts scooting towards me. So I kick him again while he's on the ground.
Yeah.
He goes down. I jump on top of him and I'm hitting him. And then they said he blows the whistle to call the fight. And I'm like, I was about to smack his ass real good.
Yeah.
I'm like rear back, like about to go. And he blows the whistle. And I go, I stop. And everyone was like, "Oh." I'm like, "Why are y'all saying no?" I was like, we didn't know you could fight. I was like, "I just choose not to fight you guys." Like, what do you mean? I remember I knocked out one of the other senior dudes. We're playing basketball, and he got mad and like he punched me in the face.
Oh.
Because I pushed him. I was like, "Man, get the fuck out of my face." I pushed him, and he went. He tried to punch me again. I slipped under his arm, got behind him. I picked him up, slammed him,
Yeah.
knocked him out, slapped the shit out of him, spit on him, and said, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Hey man, wake up." And he was knocked out, dude. I was like, "Damn, dude, I just slammed this dude on his head." So I ran and got dogged. He didn't remember what happened. And so we told him because he had to go through. Now he had to go tell what's happened to staff sergeant and them.
Well, yeah.
And so we told him that he got pushed out of bounds going for a ball and got knocked out. It took about 20 minutes when he was we roomed together too.
Oh, okay.
At this time we roomed together because we switched some rooms around. And he was like, "Wait a minute." He was like, "Yee, you're the one that slammed me." I was like, "Calm down." "Yeah, it's true." I was like, "But you shouldn't have punched me." He's like, "You pushed me first." I was like, "Yeah, but you shouldn't have fouled me." And then he got mad. He wanted to fight. I was like, "I'm not fighting you again, dude. You lost. I'm not doing this." So we did like stuff like that. Was just a lot of fun. I remember two of the boots wasn't in the same team. The tall dude and the dude I threw my monster at, tall Islander dude. He was like 6'4", and the other kid was like 5'3". Best friends. Don't know why. Well, they decide to go get some ass when we don't supposed to be out. So they come back they check back in from Libo. So the time frame. Check back in. They wait until like 12 at night. Hop a fence from one of the barriers. Hop the fence. Everyone's going crazy. They're like, "Where's these two?" Like, I'm not gonna say them. "Where's so and so? Where's so and so?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. It's like, so we call one of our guys that was on duty at the gate for Libo. It's like, "Hey man, did so and so check in?" He's like, "Yeah, they're both signed in. They should be here." I was like, "Where are they at?" Not in their rooms. Can't find them at the gym. They finally come back at like 4 a.m. Over the gate.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Norwegian guards saw them on the camera hop the gate, and that's a big security reason.
I was going to say, there's cameras.
And then when they came back in, they didn't know if there was them or somebody trying to infiltrate the base. So they ended up fucking getting them, and yeah, they got in trouble. And I think one of them got a girl pregnant out there that night. I don't know what happened to them, but they were obviously no longer able to go on Libo.
Yeah.
But just stupid boots, man.
Yeah.
Like, something you shouldn't really do.
I mean, they're lucky they didn't get shot.
Well, I don't. Well, we wouldn't. They didn't give us rounds to patrol. Another reason why I thought it was fucking stupid.
But they have rounds, right?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they did.
I mean, they had guns. I don't know if there
Yeah.
was rounds in them, but I don't know. We were at the main gate and they wouldn't give us rounds. But again, we're in Norway. Like we're not.
Yeah,
we're thinking
I
something's
understand,
gonna,
but-
penetrate through the lines and all that.
Yeah.
But they had a mall, and I remember. So the chow hall would close super early. They also eat dinner fucking crazy early, like 4 o'clock. So it's like
Yeah, it's-
breakfast is like 6.
Yeah.
12 o'clock or 11, 10 to like 11 is like lunch.
Yeah.
And then you got dinner at 4. Well, we're still training. We're still hungry, working out, doing our thing. And so like the delivery dude you can go get food and have it delivered, but it would have to stop at the gate.
Yeah.
And it was stupid expensive too. Like a pizza was like a whole pizza. And I'm not talking very big. I'm talking maybe like this big.
Like a
Enough-
medium. Like a medium.
Like a large,
Oh, okay.
but like a Domino's large.
Okay.
Not like a New York style big large,
Yeah.
right? It was like $45
Good Lord.
for that, a 2 liter of Pepsi and a thing of fries. It was like $45 American. I was like, who the fuck is paying for all this? I'm sure my dumb ass, man, we'd be hungry. The PX would be closed, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It was just, that was basically really it. It was a good time. It was cold a lot. There were in the barracks, there was like this big area. It had like a pool table, a foosball table, a separate little meeting room for like briefings and stuff like that. And then, but the bigger area had this huge TV. I mean, I'm talking like 80-inch, but it wasn't mounted. It was just on a stand. And so like people would go out in town. When we came in with the previous guys, we were leaving trying to sell us TVs and shit. And I was like, I don't want your TV. Get out of here. I don't need a TV. We're out here to train and all this other stuff. I was like, man, whatever.
Yeah.
Go out and go have libo. Well, did you know you probably wanted that TV to like play, you know, games or whatever you wanted to do. But the TVs outside again was expensive. Those dudes done trashed the TVs that they didn't sell. They just threw them away or whatever, or sold them. So my bright ass idea, I was like, there's a free TV in that big berthing. So I took it, put it in my bag, put it in my room. Next thing I know, Staff Sergeant comes in, he's like, where'd you get that TV? Found it. He's like, put that shit back. That's for every Marine to use. It's like, good to go, Staff Sergeant.
Tactically acquired it.
It's like, good to go, Staff Sergeant. So I put it back in our berthing, and there was like an unoccupied barracks. I took that TV and put it back in my room. It wasn't as big, but it was still nice. And I was like, cool. I was like, I'm going to put it back when I'm done because it wasn't being occupied.
Yeah.
But that Corporal's course, the biggest thing about Corporal's course was really cool was like the Mameluke sword drill and all that.
Yeah.
And then we had our mess night. Did our, you know, say it ain't so and all this other stuff. And then we go to there's a bar on base that normally isn't open, but they opened it for us. So we took this picture. The gunny was like, all right. Oh, no, was it gunny or first sergeant? He was like, all right, no stupid hand gestures. It's a serious picture, all right? And we were already plastered. You know, we're already getting kind of tipsy. So my dumb ass is like this in the background. And he meant, what I thought he meant was like no terminal lance, stupid signs. What he said, no stupid signs. But I was like this, smiling.
Yeah.
Everyone else. And he looked at the picture. He said, okay, no hand signs. So we did that, and it was a serious one. He gets done. He's like, who the fuck is that? And I was like, everyone was like, that's Yee. And I was like, oh shit. So I go up to him, and he's like, come here. Now I'm thinking about to get chewed out, slayed, you know, something stupid.
Yeah.
We end up at the bar. He's like, all right, listen up, everybody. I told this motherfucker not to put anything on stupid ass hand sign. What's it do? Put up a terminal land sign. I was like, but Gunny, he's like, shut the fuck up. I was like, but it wasn't a terminal land sign. I was just peace signs. And so we're at the bar. He's like, barkeep, how many bottles do you have of different alcohol? I think it was like 20 or 19. He said, I want a shot of each. Not only was it expensive, lines up a shot of each, all the different alcohol he's got.
Yeah.
He's like, you drink them. I said, what? I was like, I don't want to. He was like, you're doing it for your stupid ass little thing. And I'm pissed off because I think this is, you know, I didn't do this, what he's saying. I'm already tipsy. And I was like, all right, I have no choice. So I start slamming shots. I think about maybe 2 minutes after that, I blacked out. I have no idea what happened. There is a video of me in the bathroom laying down, another Asian Marine pissing, laughing, looking back at me. My boy Young's over me. The guy behind him's taking the video. He's like, yeah, you good? You good? And there's like water on my face and all this other stuff. The next thing I remember, because the next day is graduation.
Yeah.
We had to be there at a certain time. Next thing I remember, I woke up. I had my cami blouse was hung up, but I was still in my boots and I was still in my trousers and I had my green shirt, you know, boots and use basically.
Yeah.
I woke up in my brack, soaking wet, and I looked up and I was like, what time is it? And I was late to class.
Mm-hmm.
And my one of my boots came in. He was like, they're looking for you, Corporal. I was like, who's looking for me? He's like, you're supposed to be at Corporal's course or something. They told me to come get you. I looked at my towel. I was like, fuck. I grabbed my blouse. It's soaking wet. I was like, why am I wet? And I take off running across like this little parade deck, and that's where we was having class. I barge in, and the sergeants are there. I was like, I'm sorry, Sergeant. I overslept. He was like, Yee, calm down. We saw what happened. You're good. Everyone's at chow right now. Go get some chow. Come back at this time. I said, good to go, Sergeant. I get there. I was like, yo, what the fuck happened? He was like, dude, you blacked out. I was like, I can clearly understand that, but how did I get back? He's like, dude, we had to drag you all the way back. Like you were not functional. Like the firemen's carried your ass back and had the boots come get you halfway because we were tired. And I was like, well, how was I wet? He was like, it's either you got pissed on or somebody poured water on you. And when the video showed, it was them putting water on me because I was very worried that I fucking got pissed on.
Yeah.
And I don't remember nothing, dude. Like that's the first time legitimately drinking shots, immediate blackout.
Yeah.
And waking up like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But they were like, yeah, dude, you passed the fuck out. The boots put you back in your rack. And I was like, why didn't those motherfuckers take my trousers off? And my whole bed is, so now I'm pissed at my guys. I'm like, why would you put me in my bed wet? But I was like, I guess I shouldn't have it wasn't my choice to black out, but I was like, whatever. But yeah, it was a bunch of fun, a bunch of training, skiing, shooting, showing the Norwegian people stuff, them showing us some cold weather stuff. How
did they do in the corporal's course?
They gave them like a curve. They graded them on a curve. They passed them. It didn't matter if they failed them or passed them.
Yeah,
so they just went ahead and passed them. But they just couldn't understand like what foot to call column left on, what foot to call to the rear on.
Okay.
They couldn't understand they understood the sword manual, but it was like they were having troubles with the commands and like the proper stuffs. But they had the gist of it. And they were doing pretty well. It's just those simple, smaller things that actually do matter, like what foot you call column left on.
Yeah.
And then one of the things we had to, one of the things for corporal's course for us was you had to drill a squad with sword manual and all that within the parameters, kind of like you do at the drill instructors do at boot camp.
Yeah.
That's what they kind of failed on, was staying in the perimeters, and was like, instead of saying like, as you were, he'd be like, oh shit. And he'd be like, to the rear, march. And they turn around and so the staff sergeant sitting there, like, we had 2 staff sergeants with us, my staff sergeant, another one. Like I said, they both came from the drill field. Yeah. So they knew everything.
Right.
And, what I was like, all right, I got this. I did it for RTC. I know how to drill. So I'm like, left, right. He's like, you quit that. I was like, but I'm trying to get it because I kept messing it up, like with making it sound good in the
cadence,
staying within the boundaries. He was like, here goes, left, right, left, right. Left, right, left. That's how I want you to say it. And I was like, that sounds stupid. He was like, but you're going to fail the course. I was like, good to go, Staff Sergeant. You're the drill master. I got you. But that was super fun. Everything was fun.
So that was for you to pick up sergeant?
Corporal's course was, I think it's a mandatory to pick up sergeant. You have to go through corporal's course.
Yeah.
Same thing with
did
Lance
you
Corporal
pick it up
seminar.
there?
No, apparently I got promoted to sergeant during my EAS time.
Okay.
So I had saved up my leave days and got out like 2.5 months early. Yeah. Like you set up your vacation, like in the corporate world, set up your vacation, you can retire early. Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. And then I found out because Navy Federal called me. When I called Navy Federal, I was like, how you doing, Sergeant Yee? I was like, what? Sergeant Yee? I was like, I don't think I'm a sergeant. Like, says here you got out as a sergeant. And sure enough, look at my DD-214 and all that when I got mailed to me and all that. Yeah. Sergeant Yee, I said, change that shit back to corporal. They didn't give me no damn. I don't have my certificate for sergeant, nothing. But I'm a sergeant when I got out. Yeah. Apparently, you can pick it up also in active reserves. Your additional 4 years afterwards. Yeah. They can promote you within that too, especially if you hit the numbers, whatever number things. Yeah. I knew I was getting promoted because the what is the career guy called? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about? The reenlistment guy talks about your choices for reenlistment. Yeah. Career planner or something. Yeah, career planner. That's what his name. Yeah. That's what he was called. It was like a sergeant or something like that, or a staff sergeant. He was like, what's going on, Yee? He's like, you're going to reenlist? I was like, probably not. Yeah. I was like, I'm getting out. He was like, well, let's just talk about it. At least got to talk to you about it. So my options for B billets, I said, man, the only thing that might get me to come back and go stay in, because I knew I had a B billet. I just didn't know what it was yet. The main 2 are recruiters and drill instructors. Didn't want to do either one of them. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. Is there anything for a combat instructor for SOI? I'd love to go do that. Like that's, I mean, I can't say I'm this combat crazy veteran, but I know enough to teach somebody, I feel like, or at least help out something. Yeah. And he was like, there's no spots for that for like 2 years out. Yeah. But then you have to be B billeted within like your first year of sergeant. Mm-hmm. And I was like, or whenever your 5th year, you have to go through a B billet process. So you're not gonna have time to wait for that spot to come up. And then if you're not selected, they're just gonna throw you wherever. Yeah. I was like, well, that sucks. I'm out. Yeah. I was like, I'm getting out. He offered me a bonus and it was like $6,000. I was like, so you give me $6,000 like as soon as I sign these papers? He's like, no, it's over 4 years. I said, yeah, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
It's like I'll never see that money after it's taxed and shit. I'll not even know if it's there. It's like another like $300 or $200 a paycheck.
Yeah.
Who cares? So I ended up getting out, but yeah, I did try to sell that TV though on the flight out. Nobody wanted to buy it. Just like then I'll just put it back. I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
It's like I probably was part of, God telling me not to do that.
Yeah.
Jail was fun. There's a lot of culture difference. A lot of Norwegian people are super nice.
Yeah.
Even when I actually saw how I forgot there was a bridge between the bay that goes over the bay. There was we kind of was like about to go help them out. Apparently, these two cops were trying to help or trying to deal with the subject on the bridge. Right? When we looked at them, they don't have guns.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I saw tasers. I said, how the fuck these cops don't have a gun? What if this motherfucker tried to kill somebody? Sure enough, they start fighting. So we're like, okay. So we start like hurrying towards their area because we can try to help them out. And they ended up tasing this dude and handcuffing him. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, well, I guess they don't need our help. But like, it was like, I thought they were gonna get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
It's like, us four were about to go. And it was super cool. They're super nice, super healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Even the food out in town was like, they say like it's not American portion. That's super true. Like our portions here are fucking ginormous compared to what they were.
Of course.
Everything was more expensive there. Got some, Norwegian. I think it's called kroner.
Mm-hmm.
Their currency. And it was just good. I mean, it was a good time.
That's good. Yeah.
The real sad thing about during this deployment is when I figured out, about my team leader killing himself.
Yeah.
And I had snuck in a bottle of Jack from out in town back to the barracks and took a shot with him for him. One of my buddies called me and was like, hey, I don't know if you know, but Taylor ended up killing himself and felt bad. We've already talked about all that on the Memorial Day episode, but kind of put his spirits down on that throughout the deployment to try to stay motivated as possible. The big group chat from the first deployment, all the guys were talking to, saying, updating everybody. And obviously couldn't go to his funeral, deployed, felt bad about that.
Yeah.
His family really fucked him over, like stole the money that the insurance company that gave whatever little money he got for his grave plot, they paid for the grave, and then the money for the headstone and all that shit, they just fucking kept.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Not only from whatever, from deployment stuff like that, but also family stuff when he got out, just having, and we'll get into that in the mental health episode, but big reasons of why he did what he did. So kind of screwed up, but yeah, that was pretty much the gist of it. A lot of training, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of snow training.
Yeah.
A lot of snow caves, a lot of just snow skiing. Like skiing sounds fun.
Yeah.
Put 150 pounds of pack on you, and then now you got to walk through 10 feet of snow. And there was like, so like, like if you're heavier or taller, you get longer skis because you don't sink as much.
Right. Everyone
Everyone had the same kind of, same little skis.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter how big you were. Like my big ass was sinking. There was no, everyone like smaller dudes doing this on top of the snow and maybe sinking a little bit. I'm sitting there. And we're doing like, like 10-mile hikes. And I'm like, dude, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, get me out of here. But that was just of it. Come back, flew back, same way we flew in. Was a good time. And it was a good time. It was a good deployment, good experience. Got to see the world on the Marine Corps dime, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Comes with a lot of physical bullshit, and mental stuff. But other than that, it wasn't too much. For the second one, it was kind of boring.
Yeah.
Other than
it was a good experience, because you're never going to be able to do that. Again,
well,
ever,
So if I ever go back to Norway, I got places to stay.
Yeah.
I got Norwegian people on my Facebooks. They kept telling me, like, hey, if you ever come back, you can stay in my house. I said, okay. That lady and her boyfriend, she was like, let me know if you guys ever come back. And he was like, he was from Australia. Okay. Like he was living up here, and he was like, yeah, mate, if you come back down, come on through. He's like, get on our boat next time. I was like, maybe. I was like, 'cause y'all crazy as fuck. But yeah, he was, it just, if I ever go back, I have connections there. Mm-hmm. I keep up with them. I hit them up every now and then. They speak pretty good, decent English. They were in the military too.
Okay.
Some of the guys. And, they were, I see what they do now. They're out of the military. They're doing like big construction or whatever.
Yeah.
And doing all this other stuff. So I got connections. So if you ever decide to go to Norway, we got places to stay, I hope.
Yeah.
If not, we can always sneak on base.
Yeah. I don't know about that one. I mean, because have you ever heard, some of them that go on different deployments and then they go to Australia, they always have a handful of Marines that never come back. Because for some reason, I've heard that Australia is like the best
Oh yeah, they don't
best
want to leave.
port and deployment
Yeah.
that you can go on, and like you always have a handful that goes AWOL. And they go missing in Australia, and they don't come back. So
I heard there. I mean, statistically, that's what I've seen before. Is Australia is like it's like 80% or 60 or 80% women versus men. So I'm guessing that's why you have a bunch of
that's probably
single Marines going out there, maybe even married ones. You never know.
Yeah, you never
Marines,
know.
you never know. Going AWOL.
Just tell them I died in a training accident in Australia.
Yeah. I'm drowning. Help me, scuba. Swim away.
Yeah.
Kill yourself, And
Well,
then come back
that's
to life.
good, dude. It's amazing how, thinking on now, because back then, I didn't think about that, because I always thought everybody on, no matter what battalion you're with, everybody went through the same, training workups and exercises and stuff.
No, dude. And,
so,
and honestly, like
because y'all are right down the street from us, like 2-2s right there.
yeah.
And y'all,
Because y'all was next to tanks, weren't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, tanks got disbanded. You remember that? When I was in, tanks got disbanded.
Yeah, they
Now
were
they
still
use-
there when
yeah.
I was in.
So
but
they were demolishing their barracks to build new ones, and tanks
Yeah.
was doing their own thing. And then as I was getting out, that's when we saw the first female infantry people,
Okay.
where they actually allowed them. So they had to go through SOI and pass everything for one, which was super hard because I guess the way the way they explained to us why the females were falling out of the hikes, they basically do everything else, just the hikes. You have to make it, in SOI, it's a certain there's a distance hikes and it's timed.
Yes.
So if you don't make the time, then you don't make it. And some of them are on your own. Like
Yeah.
it's just you got to go. Well, the reason why they didn't make it is because they were explaining like the way their hip bones are different from ours. The way that it bears the weight, it's a lot harder on their body, which makes their like legit body just collapse. And so that's why some of them couldn't make it. So when we got out, it was the barracks. It was the unit right next to us, and their barracks is right next to one of our other barracks. And you can see the female machine gunner. Dude, that girl. I asked one, I was like, "Yo, how is it?" It's like, dude, this chick runs circles around most of the guys. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, dude. One of the PTs, the dude fell out. She grabbed his 240 and her 240 and fucking took off. And I said, yo, she's got some steroids in her or something. Because those shits are heavy.
Yeah.
And then they're carrying the A bag too. Like apparently she was a beast.
Yeah.
There was a couple of machine gunners from them. It was like only one or two. But I don't know what they're doing now or how that works out now for the infantry. I didn't keep up with it, but
Yeah.
I've always said, man, as long as you can do the damn job, I'm cool with it. I don't give a fuck. I don't care what race, what gender you are.
Yeah.
As long as you uphold the standards of what we need to do and they know it's not lowered, I mean, she was like, she wanted to do pull-ups too
Yeah.
for the PFT, not the flex arm hang.
Yeah.
So they let her.
Well, they make them do pull-ups now.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she was cranking 20. 20. Well, it got increased when I was in. It was like 22 or 21. Instead of not 20 was the max. It was cranked to like 20, 21 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was that is different. And then, most of the time the California Marines, Pendleton Marines got deployed to the Middle Eastern areas, and we got deployed to like Muse and shit like that. It wasn't the case for you because obviously they needed more people, but just in general, like even during when I was in Camp Pendleton, Marines were going and deployed into Kuwait and Iraq and all that. That was their deployment, Afghanistan.
Yeah. Well,
Because they're living in they're training every day in the desert
yeah.
over there versus us. So,
Yeah.
kinda
Yeah. So,
sucks.
yeah. So, my battalion, that's where they were going to go next after we got back. We had another workup, and then we were training, which I helped out with. But yeah, going to Afghanistan next.
I had fun on both deployments, and I'm grateful for the experiences.
Yeah.
Wish we could have done what we've been trained to do the whole time, but at the same time, you kind of don't know what you're wishing upon on yourself.
Yeah.
It's just, smaller stuff, but good times. Very grateful for what the Marine Corps has allowed me to do and shaped me to where I am today. The standards and the morals that we uphold
Most
still
definitely.
carry out.
Yeah.
But yeah, wasn't as fun-filled combat experiences for me, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Can't help that.
no, you can't control that, and y'all anyway at the time. That's when the whole Ukraine and Russia thing was popping off, and so it's better to be prepared.
Which
You know what I mean?
Which is So a lot of the guys that were like they went to Norway with us or whatever, they were upset because their whole thing was I wanted to go see a bunch of combat.
Who?
Some of the guys that were deployed with us.
Yeah,
I want to go see this is not what I signed up for. I want to go see a bunch of combat. Norway was stupid. They fucking left there. Like one of the guys left his wife and kid and went to Ukraine to join when Ukraine was asking for help.
Yeah.
If volunteers or whatever, he went out there and joined up. And apparently he couldn't get back out. Like they forced him to stay on the line. And I was like, you're a dumbass.
That's what you asked for.
But I mean, he was posting pictures on Facebook and shit with him and fucking cool shit. And then I was like, but you have a wife and kid at home. Like, you're not getting paid to do what you're doing. Like, it's volunteer work. It's like you just abandoned your family, you dumbass.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys, some of the guys were asking me what they should do. I was like, not our conflict, dude. Like,
that's not us.
You have no idea what's going on, truly what's going on over there. And one of the guys, that guy got stuck. He couldn't, they wouldn't let him leave the country.
Yeah.
He wanted to come back home to see his family. They're like, nope.
Right.
Go that way.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh, well,
that's what you
asked for it. Yeah. So I don't feel bad for you. But it's not our conflict.
I don't either.
It's really not, but whatever.
Yeah.
But it does prepare like the cold weather training.
Yeah.
That would prepare for that kind of warfare.
Exactly.
And I'm sure when that broke out, those guys in Norway was like, all right, guys, we're on QRF standby if some shit pops off.
Right. Yeah.
So that's probably the most like adrenaline or excitement they got, whoever got deployed to Norway. The guys that took over from us.
Yeah. Well, there's reason things that we do. And all the training and stuff that we do, and then we're fed into, daily, and all the hard work we do is for that reason. But it's really for us to be prepared, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, be that warrior, even though when we're still at peacetime, and we're not really doing anything too crazy.
Right, you guys said you have to be prepared. Yeah,
you have to be prepared. And because if it did happen, then y'all would be the one that's closest to the area and get caught up. You know?
And
so
that's a little different than fighting, people in pajamas. I mean, that's a whole mechanized country.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I'm saying, with tanks and
right, of course,
air support and shit like that. That's an actual current country.
But
war.
they also haven't been in a war in the past.
They got them. It's just different because, like you said, like the huts and all that.
Yeah.
Versus like people like living like us, just about.
Yeah.
Maybe not as nice or whatever. I don't know. I've never been in Russia. I'm sure there's nice parts, but like tanks and
Russia's
Cobras and bombers and drones now, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's deployments, man.
Yeah.
You got anything else to add?
No. I mean, again, like I said before, it was the only thing I regret was pictures.
Yep, pictures.
But at the time, this time, that wasn't on my mind of taking a lot of pictures. But
yeah,
I was able to take some, and some of them took. When we did have patrols and stuff that wasn't too crazy or nothing, some of them took pictures, and so I have some from my old flip phone, which is on my Facebook, but horrible pictures. But I got a couple.
Yeah, take pictures for sure. Be ready.
Yeah,
guys, that wraps up the episode. Don't forget about our giveaway. You need to comment, like, and be subscribed to our last video, the EAS and mental health episode. We're gonna choose a random comment. It's got to be at least 100 comments and 100 likes on the video. Giving away the T-shirt. We'll post a T-shirt on different videos on our TikTok once they come in, so that you guys know what they look like. I've seen the proof of them. They're pretty cool shirts. They're gonna look good, look great. And then stay tuned for our TikTok giveaway for the challenge coin. Please go follow our TikTok. Follow us on all the social media platforms that we've got listed down below. We have our Twitter up, and we're still trying to get JD Vance on the podcast. So please tag him on Twitter. Give us a tag on Instagram, on whatever the case, Facebook and TikTok. We're trying to get JD Vance on the podcast. I say when, not if. So it's going to happen. Got to manifest it. I'm very confident in it. Talk about that. So That wraps up the episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, my name's Alan.
And I'm Mike.
You guys have a blessed day. Stay hard. See y'all next time.
Panda 1-6, Panda 1-6, this is Badger 2-2, come in, over.
Badger 2-2, this is Panda 1-6. Send traffic, over.
Roger, E4 Mafia is a go. I say again, E4 Mafia is a go.
Roger that, execute.